हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवधि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। श्री चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। नित्यानंदमहं नौमि सर्वानंदकरं परम हरिनाम प्रदम देवम अवधूत शिरोमणि। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय। श्री नित्यानंद राम की जय। चैतन्य चंद्रेर लीला अगाढ़ गंभीर प्रवेश करिते नारे स्पर्श रही। Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how are they? Chaitanya Chandra Leela Aghada Gambhir. They are uh, they are like a very deep ocean, and they're very very confidential, very difficult to enter. प्रवेश करीते नारे, कविराज गोस्वामी से हम प्रवेश भी नहीं कर सकते। ये महाप्रभु का जो महासागर है, महाप्रभु का महासागर, उनका लीलाओं का जो महासागर है, हम प्रवेश भी नहीं कर सकते। हम प्रवेश करने दूर की बात है, कविराज गोस्वामी बोलते हैं, उनके नम्र भाव में कविराज गोस्वामी बोलते हैं कि हम भी प्रवेश नहीं कर सकते। सो एंटरिंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु's pastime is like a deep ocean which is very difficult, not possible to enter. प्रवेश करीते नारे स्पर्शे रहितीर, he says, I am just trying to take a few drops of this ocean from the ocean shore. I'm not even going inside the ocean, just from the ocean. I'm just scratching the ocean surface, just trying to be on the ocean shore because entering into the pastimes of Gaur Leela, which is like an ocean, is extremely difficult. So Kaviraj Goswami, what he gives in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is not even the ocean. This is simply he's touching the ocean shore. चैतन्य चंद्रेरा लीला अगाढ़ गंभीर प्रवेशे करिते नारे स्पर्श रही तीर। केवल स्पर्श कर रहे हैं, जो तीर में है ओशन शोर, जस्ट टचिंग दैट। चैतन्य चरित ए अमृत तेर सिंधु कर्ण मन अतृप्त करे जार एक बिंदु। The pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are Amrit Sindhu. They are an ocean, ocean of nectar, ocean of sweetness. Karna mana tripta kare. The ears are happy, the mind is happy, the heart is happy, the soul is happy. Oh, everything is happy. By hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every completely we are happy. Karna mana tripta kare jar ek bindu. पूरा समुद्र लेने की भी आवश्यकता नहीं है, एक बिंदु. If you just take one drop of this ocean of Gaur Leela, then the heart, mind, body, ears, every senses, everything is completely happy just with one drop. So we can imagine if one drop has the Shakti, what to speak of palmful of water. If palmful will have that Shakti, what to speak of one bucket. If bucket will have that Shakti, what to speak of, you can just exponentially keep going till the time you reach the ocean. If one drop has so much Shakti, what to speak of the whole ocean of Gaur Leela. So what Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is like an ocean to all of us, For Kaviraj Goswami, that is just Sparshe Rahitir. He is simply scratching the ocean surface. So to that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose pastimes give happiness to every sense of our body, we offer our full respects. We say that in another 10 days' time in the US, another 11 days' time in India, we are going to celebrate Gaur Lila. So we are getting near. We started on 26th of February, and now we are coming closer and closer and closer, and now we're just 10 days away from the most celebrated event, that is appearance of Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. So we will continue our discussion, dear devotees. We were just for reminding each one of us, we were discussing about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya yesterday, how Mahaprabhu transformed him and how Mahaprabhu mentioned to him, मायावाद भाष्य सुनी लो होई लो सर्वनाश. यदि कोई मायावाद का भाष्य सुनता है, मायावाद की वाक्य सुनता है, तो उस व्यक्ति का विनाश, विनाश नहीं सर्वनाश, कुछ, he loses everything if he associate with mayavadis. So it's very important whom we hear even when we are online on YouTube. Oftentimes many people nowadays you find there are so many who speak uh, on the internet. I saw a recent person. I had not seen him. I think he's trending now these days. He goes by the name Amit. And you can search online. He's like a spiritual, so-called spiritual guy. I wouldn't say a spiritual guy because people come to him with bodily problems, and he just does some, and then he does like this, and then people, they become completely fine. You can check him out on YouTube. Some latest trending so-called spiritualist. I don't remember his full name. I've been seeing his videos many times. It keeps coming on the feeds. Uh, so apparently, whatever the doctors learn for 10-15 years, he is just doing some chanting, some mantras, and he does like this, and the people say, हमारे हमारे आंखों में प्रॉब्लम था, अब आंख ही ठीक हो गया, अब पेट में प्रॉब्लम था, पेट ठीक हो गया. And it's as Bhakti Vikas Maharaj says, there are two kinds of people: cheater and the cheated. Those who want to get cheated will get a cheater guru. Bahava Gurava Santi Shishya Santapaharaka. There are so many gurus, but those who are dhongi, they will just be behind money. Bahava Gurava Santi Shishya Vittapaharaka. जो ढोंगी है वो केवल पैसे के पीछे पड़ेंगे, लेकिन द रियल guru who is there, he will not be behind money. He will be vittapaharaka. He will be behind your anxiety. He will want to take your anxiety away. And how he can take you closer towards Krishna, that is the job and role of a real devotee. Lord Shiva is saying this to Parvati. Bahavaha guravas santi. शिष्यस वित्तापहारक. जो बहुत सारे ये ढोंगी गुरु है, वो पैसे के पीछे रहेंगे, लेकिन वास्तव में जो शुद्ध वैष्णव है, वो पैसे के पीछे नहीं होते. They are behind how they can take you towards Krishna. And even if you give money, they will use that money to serve Krishna, to spread Mahaprabhu's mission. They will not use it for their personal sense enjoyment. Every cent that they have, they will use it. And that's how Prabhupada did. All the money that he would get, he would use it for temples, he would use it for preaching. And that is the command that Prabhupada carried. People loved Prabhupada just for how selfless he was. Just looking at Prabhupada, devotees would get inspired. I was hearing yesterday, Prabhupada was in Singapore with his servant. And from Singapore, they traveled to Australia, Melbourne, Australia. And Prabhupada was traveling with this one servant. And this servant, he did not have an Australian visa. Now, without a visa, you cannot enter country, whichever country it is. Even foreigners, when they come to India, they have to take e-visa. You cannot enter a country without a visa. Only there are few countries where it is visa free or on arrival visa. You don't have to apply and then you just enter and you get. But most countries you have to कुछ प्लान बनाना पड़ता है, वीजा लेनी पड़ती है, फिर हम कंट्री में प्रवेश कर सकते हैं. So this servant didn't have an Australian visa. And in Singapore airport, they had warned him that in Australia you will have problems. Actually, most times they will not even allow you to board the flight. When you don't, the destination where you're going, if you don't have the visa, they will not even allow you to board the flight. But somehow, Singapore authorities allowed the servant of Prabhupada to board the flight. So he boarded. He reached Melbourne, Australia. And when he landed, now naturally you don't have visa. The entry kaisa kare? So Prabhupada was there before him. Prabhupada showed his passport and visa, everything. They stamped, and Prabhupada went ahead. Now the servant came. They said, visa. He said, I don't have. They said, what? You're coming, you're entering the country, visa kidhar hai? He said, nahi hai. So they said, well, if there is no visa, you have to be deported. So somehow he got the intelligence. He said, but I'm married to an Australian citizen. His wife was an Australian citizen. Prabhupada only 2 weeks back in Cross Maidan, Mumbai, Prabhupada had married him to Padmavati Devi, who was an Australian citizen. Now, when you get married, when your spouse is a citizen of one particular country, naturally you can inherit. If your wife is an American, you become an American. Wife is an Australian, you become an Australian. Wife is an Indian, you can apply for Indian citizenship. World over, it is like that. If your spouse is of some country, you can inherit that citizenship. So he said, my wife is an Australian. So he said, wife is an Australian. You're married? He said, yes. So the visa officer said, okay, show me your marriage certificate. He said, I don't have. The visa officer was thinking, what is this? You don't have visa, you don't have marriage certificate. So this devotee was there with Prabhupada. He said, I have a photo, marriage photo I have. So he said, okay, kuch to dikhao, show me that. So he had only one photo. And during those days also there is no phone. You cannot show on phone or whatever. He had only one photo. So kaise to nikal ke diye. So that person was seeing. And these photos were pretty much even black and white. We're talking about early 1970s. So it was black and white. So this officer saw. And as this visa officer was seeing, he saw Prabhupada was the pujari in that. And he had just seen Prabhupada. So he was confused. What is this? This person is getting married, and the person with whom he is coming, he is the pujari. He doesn't have visa, he doesn't have marriage certificate. Between these two people itself, they are doing everything. So this visa officer got confused, but he was seeing Prabhupada. And seeing Prabhupada, he got so attracted, just seeing the photo. When Prabhupada had come prior to the stamping, that time itself he saw Prabhupada and there was some pull in the heart. You see, many times Prabhupada disciples, they say, the first time we saw Prabhupada and we realized he was not of this world. Many times I've heard Prabhupada disciples saying, when Prabhupada would walk, it would not be like walking, it would be gliding. He would just be like very smooth. No, almost like in the airports, you see, you have that, I don't know what you call, but you can walk on that where it seems like you're almost gliding. So this visa officer was completely confused. And in the photo that was provided to him, he was seeing Prabhupada. And he saw Prabhupada for nearly 5, 7 minutes. And he got very attracted. But still, now this is not how visa works. So he said, you go to the airport authorities, the officials, let them decide for you. So he was taken there. And now this person, where he was taken, he was the head of Melbourne Airport. He was leading the Melbourne Airport. So he was taken there and he said, what is the problem? This devotee said, I don't have visa. So he said, okay. So what is your claim? How do we make you enter the country? He said, well, I am married to an Australian citizen, but before you ask, let me tell you, I don't even have marriage certificate. If that is what you're going to ask. So he said, okay, what do you have? And then finally he gave the marriage photo. And now this head of Melbourne Airport was seeing the marriage photo. And he also got attracted to Prabhupada. He got attracted to Prabhupada so much that for the first time, probably ever in the history of any country, including Australia, this servant of Prabhupada, who did not have marriage certificate, who did not have visa, got his passport stamped to enter the country. And that stamp was indefinite stay in Australia, which means you can stay in Australia how much ever time you want. Just seeing Prabhupada, they got attracted so much. Now, these are real stories. We are not making anything up. These things, miracles were a normal thing when people would travel with Prabhupada. Because the purity that he carried, the, the hippies had never seen anything like that. This was too much. And finally, As his passport was stamped, he was allowed to enter Australia. So Prabhupada was waiting for him all this time. And finally, when he met Prabhupada, Prabhupada asked him what happened, why did it take so much time? He said, Prabhupada, interesting story. I didn't have a visa. And then he explained the whole thing as to how seeing Prabhupada's photo on a marriage photo of this devotee, they had got inspired. That's it. There is no other story to this. They had just stamped. And when Prabhupada got to know, Prabhupada smiled. And both of them left. And then eventually, Prabhupada traveled and started his preaching tour in Melbourne. So this is the power potency that Prabhupada carried, the purity that Srila Prabhupada carried. Just by looking at him, you could even get a visa into the country. So dear devotees, always keep a photo of Prabhupada on your phone. You don't know कब काम आने वाला है पता नहीं क्या पता कहीं भी काम आ जाए. So always have the photo of Radha Shama Sundar Krishna Balaram Srila Prabhupada, our Gurujan. Also for the matter of protection, while at the same time, you never know कहाँ पत्ता कहाँ चल जाए पता नहीं चलेगा, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like this. When he would go, he would attract everyone. And primarily here he attracted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Hmm? So that is where we ended. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. These Prabhupada memories are very sweet, dear devotees. If we just keep hearing, every day, अगर थोड़ा थोड़ा समय यदि हम ऑफिस के लिए जा रहे हैं, स्कूल के लिए जा रहे हैं, इत्यादि whatever, we can hear. They are all free on YouTube. We can, if you want, we can download them and hear them offline, whichever works best for us. We get to hear different stories like this, and there is no philosophy. Prabhupada memories, there is no philosophy. It is only story time, and they're real stories. And the advantage is by hearing this, our love and affection towards Prabhupada will increase. व्यक्ति के बारे में यदि सुनेंगे नहीं तो प्रेम कैसे होगा. और प्रभुपाद तो हमारे संस्थापक आचार्य है, तो यदि उनसे प्रेम ना करे तो किन से करे, है ना. तो if we can hear the memories, it will be very nice. Or read the books. There are so many books. You have Chasing with the Rhinos, which of Shamsudar Prabhu. You have Watched the Difficulty of Shrutakirti Prabhu. We have so many. Prabhupada Leelamrit is there. So many books describing Prabhupada, Prabhupada's preaching, Prabhupada's pastimes, etc. Transcendental transformation. Early next morning, Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath temple and brought some prasad to the house of Sarvabhauma a little before sunrise. Sarvabhauma just rose from the bed and chanted Krishna, Krishna. Lord Chaitanya gave him prasad. Sarvabhauma immediately ate it without even washing his mouth or bathing and recited two verses describing the divine nature of prasad, food offered to Lord. Lord Chaitanya was so pleased to see this transformation in him. From the day, from that day on, Sarvabhauma was free of his false pride. He did not know anything but the lotus feet of Chaitanya and explained the scriptures only from bhakti perspective. Actually, lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is everything. Gaurangero duty pada jaradhana sampada Gauradhana Gaura Gaurangero duty pada jaradhana sampada. The lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu jaradhana sampada. Vaishnav ke liye, bhakt ke liye, this is the ultimate treasure. And the person who understands this truth, Sai jane hakati rasa sar. Sai jane hakati rasa sar. That person was understood this, has understood the essence of bhakti, has understood the essence of Krishna consciousness. Seeing him firmly fixed in Vaishnavism, Gopinath Acharya danced, clapped, and chanted Hari Hari. The next day, Sarvabhauma met Lord Chaitanya and spoke of his previous bad disposition with great humility and asked, which item is most important in bhakti? The Lord replied, the most important item in bhakti is Nam Sankirtan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is asking, भक्ति में सबसे श्रेष्ठ यदि कोई कार्य है तो कौन सा कार्य है. महाप्रभु बोलते हैं भक्ति में यदि कोई श्रेष्ठ कार्य है वो है भगवान नाम कीर्तन करना, जो है हरि नाम संकीर्तन. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there is no other means of deliverance. यदि उद्धार कोई व्यक्ति अपना चाहता है तो भगवान नाम के सिवाय और कोई उपाय नहीं है। And what is the famous verse? हरेर नाम, हरेर नाम, हरेर नामैव केवलम, कलो नस्त्यैव, नस्त्यैव, नस्त्यैव गतिरन्यथा. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way apart from chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name. तीन तीन बार बोला गया है. Sarvabhauma composed two verses on a palm leaf and sent them to Lord Chaitanya through Jagadananda. But before Jagadananda delivered the palm leaf to Lord Chaitanya, Mukunda Dutt copied the two verses on the wall outside the room. They meant to teach us detachment, knowledge, and devotion. The original Shri Krishna has mercifully descended as Lord Chaitanya. So, mm, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had written two verses and it was written on neem leaf. And as it was being taken towards Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mukunda had copied it outside the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What are these verses? The first verse, which is very prominent and Prabhupada would also quote it. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Vipambudiyastamaham Prapadhye. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari. I offer my obeisances to that Krishna जब चैतन्य महाप्रभु बनकर आए हैं. कृपाम बुद्धि प्रपद्ये. And how is he? He's like an ocean, ocean of compassion, ocean of mercy. To that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my obeisances. But what has he come down for? वैराग्य, विद्या, निज भक्ति योगा. महाप्रभु तीन चीज के लिए अवतार लेते हैं. पहला वैराग्य सिखाने के लिए, रिनंसिएशन. सेकंड विद्या, नॉलेज. एंड थर्ड निज भक्ति, लविंग डिवोशन अनटू हिमसेल्फ. ये तीन चीज सिखाने के लिए चैतन्य महाप्रभु जो समुद्र के समान विशाल है और करुणामय है, दयालु है, ऐसे श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु ये तीन चीज सिखाते हैं. वैराग्य, विद्या, निज भक्ति योग का शिक्षार्थम एक पुरुष पुराण. दिस इज द ओनली एम एंड एजेंडा ऑफ चैतन्य महाप्रभु टू टीच दीज थिंग्स, थ्री थिंग्स: renunciation, knowledge about the supreme lord, and loving devotion unto himself or Shri Krishna. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had written this. And as Mukunda was taking it, Mukunda wrote outside the wall. Now, eventually, we'll see why Mukunda wrote outside the wall, because Mukunda knew Mahaprabhu will not like all this. प्रभु कहे विष्णु विष्णु इह ना कहिबो. भगवान को पसंद नहीं है. The Lord doesn't like when he's compared to the Supreme Lord or he's compared to Krishna or when he's glorified that, oh, you're very great. Mahaprabhu would not like all these things. So Mukunda knew this. अब जब अंदर गए हुआ क्यों हुआ यू, we will see. Mukunda copied these two verses on the wall outside the room. They meant to teach us detachment, knowledge, and devotion. The original Lord Krishna is mercifully descended as Lord Chaitanya. So this verse compares Krishna to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Due to the influence of time, the ancient system of Bhakti Yoga had almost been lost. To revive it, the Lord appeared as Krishna Chaitanya. Let me take shelter of his lotus feet. As soon as, अब आएगा, as soon as Lord Chaitanya read the two verses, he immediately tore the leaf. फाड़ दिए, पत्ते को फाड़ दिए. Because Mahaprabhu didn't like when he was compared to Krishna. However, all the devotees read the verses outside the wall, outside the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Mukunda had written, and kept them within their hearts. So that is why even the leaf was torn, the verse was preserved, and we have it even now in Chaitanya Charitamrita because of Mukunda's intelligence, where he wrote it outside. तो भगवान के पार्षद भी एकदम यूनिक है. वो जानते हैं कि भगवान क्या करने वाले, तो पहली पूरी तैयारी के साथ आते हैं. Thus the Lord wishes to hide his identity. His devotees lovingly reveal it, relishing his qualities and delivering the common people. So we see how much the devotees love the Lord. They're ready to compose, they're ready to write it outside the wall so that devotees like us can hear and know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the rest of eternity. And we see so many personalities like this have given their everything for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, given their everything for Krishna. I just want to narrate something, dear devotees, which I heard recently, and I felt it was very inspiring personally for me. So I just wanted to share. There was this one person, one boy who was born here in Seattle. It's a Seattle story. He was born here in Seattle, and of course, Native American. This is a real story. And this is a story that probably will inspire many. It inspired me, so I would want you to just keep hearing. This boy is from Seattle, and as he was growing up, of course, Christian background, he was being brought up in a Christian Catholic background. And as he was young, back in the 70s and 80s, he would see that everyone would, hook up with the opposite gender. They would have girlfriends, they would have partners, eventually getting married, having kids, so on and so forth. And somehow he was not able to connect. He was not able to connect, or he was not able to resonate with the idea of having a girlfriend or having a partner or hooking up. Nowadays, we find people hook up with multiple partners, so on and so forth. He could not connect with all these things. So inside, he felt very broken. एक अंदर एक ऐसा लग रहा था कि घुटन हो रही है कि why is it that I'm not leading the lifestyle that others are leading? Like he didn't have interest to get married and he didn't have interest to have partners and girlfriends and all these things. At this point, as he was small, as he would go to school every day when he was probably only in his seventh or eighth grade, his father, biological father, who was a male, eventually transitioned to being gay and then transitioned to being transgender. So he would start dressing like female. Now in America, these things are very, very common. Probably in India, we'll be surprised, but America में सब कुछ होता है. And if you question, then you are at fault. You're not supposed to question either. यहाँ सब कुछ चल लेता है. But it's not a culture that we have to be proud about. So his father, who was biological father, who was a male, now became gay and then became transgender, started dressing like a female. And naturally, this led to the divorce of his parents. So now uh, he had a sibling and he had only mother because the father left. Father was no longer father, but he was a male dressing like female and whatever. So he just left. And eventually, the mother who was there, she got married again. So now a stepdad came in. Now, a stepdad came in this boy's life. And for this boy, it was getting very difficult because already in his school, he was seeing the culture where everyone had a girlfriend, everyone had partners. He was not having one. He was not able to connect to that culture. And when he would come home, there is no emotional, moral support. Father, imagine, it's very difficult to even take it. जो व्यक्ति को हम सदैव जानते हैं वो पिताजी अब अचानक स्त्री बन गए और घर छोड़ दिया और कोई और आ गए हैं आपके पिताजी के समान like a stepdad. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. Probably in Indian culture, it's not easy to resonate. It's very difficult. But in America, these things happen. So now, uh, somehow this boy was still coping up, trying to understand his stepdad, trying to understand his mom. Um, and eventually, with this, his uh, schooling life was concluded. Now he was about 15. And somehow he had uh, read a few pages. Now, interestingly, when the stepdad came in, he was a very voracious reader, which means he liked to read books. And he, in his library, had one book that got this boy attracted. And that book was the 1972 Macmillan edition of the Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So there are so many books in that rack, but this boy somehow found that book which his stepdad had purchased or the devotees had given to him, but he never read it, but it was there in the library. 1972 Prabhupada's Macmillan edition, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he started reading it, flipped a few pages. After that, it was too much for him to digest. So he just kept the book and kept it back in the rack. Eventually, he um, finished his schooling, and now for his job, um, when he was about 18 or 19, This is about 93, 94, 1993, 1994, that time. From the West Coast, he went to the East Coast for a job. So from the West, that's Seattle, he went to the East to Virginia to get a job. And eventually he got a job. And that job was such that he was not a white collar job, but he was working in the groceries. Grocery store जो भी होता है, जैसे इंडिया में big basket and there are so many other things. So he was working in a grocery store like that. And from that he would make money. And eventually this also was not giving him a lot of interest. So he decided to quit that job. And he quit that job to again come back to his parents, back to Seattle. So again from one end of America to another end of America. Now he again comes back to Seattle for 1 year, doesn't have a job, goes into kind of depression that what is this life that I'm leading? I'm not even married. I'm not able to understand that culture. My father left me. Now I have a stepdad. I went to the opposite end of America. I was working in a grocery store. That didn't work. I again came back here to Seattle. It's been 1 year. I still don't have a job. It's a complete crisscross life. The jigsaw puzzle is not connecting. But hold on. We will see how Krishna connects. Krishna has a very unique way of connecting people. So he again came back to Seattle, and now he started his job here. And this hunger in the heart was always there, that I want to know something about spirituality. I want to know from spiritual aspect as to why I'm not able to connect to the people around, the lifestyle that they are leading. So he read the Bible. He even went to the mosque. He read these books and then was heavily inspired by Buddhism. Somehow got connected to Buddhism and started practicing Buddhism. And now in Buddhism, he was telling me that they have their way of chanting, which is very different, where they have their beads and they will chant something like this, where they mala hoti hai aur aisa kuch karenge. And it's a very unique form of worship that they had. And he practiced that for a couple of years. And after one point, he felt there's something lacking here. My heart is still not convinced. I'm still not getting the answers. So he went online to Google to just see what are the spiritual places in Seattle. So he was seeing like this, and as he was seeing like this, he saw a photo, and that photo had big, big eyes. It had small hands. It had no legs and black in complexion. He was thinking, who is he? He is our Jagannath. He saw the photo of Jagannath, and it was ISKCON Seattle Jagannath Rath Yatra time. So he saw that photo, and he saw the details, and he realized, oh wait a minute, this is near my house only. This Rath Yatra is going to happen near my house. So he thought, okay, let me just take part. I have tried. I've tried going to a mosque. I've tried Christianity because I was born a Christian. I've tried Buddhism. I've tried all these things. Okay, now let me try Hinduism also, keeping it as the last. He saw this very unique person with big, big eyes, no hands, and his brother is also like that. Big eyes, no hands, no legs, but is white in complexion. And sister, no hands, big eyes, yellow in complexion. He was thinking, what kind of lord they are, and the whole street is stopped for them. अब ऐसे भी क्या कौन से भगवान है जिनके लिए पूरा रास्ता ही बंद हो गया. And in America, we see when there is Rath Yatra, there are police. There are police on the street just to make sure um, there is no fights or there are no riots or something like that. Everything happens smoothly. Police will stand. You have police protection. So he was thinking, "Oh, what is it that the police have left their job and helping for this Lord who is having this different unique features?" So nonetheless, he attended because it was close to his house. He attended Rath Yatra. And doing that slowly, so it's 2017 now. Slowly, after the Rath Yatra ended, he came to the local temple. So he saw the temple. He was very inspired. But now he was an introvert. So he didn't know किनसे जाके क्या बात करे. So he entered the temple and he was just standing on the side. That someone will come and talk to me and they will show me around, but I don't know what to ask because it's a different religion altogether, right? If we go to a church, we will not know what to ask, right? So for him, coming from a Christian background, he came to the temple because of Prabhu Jagannath. But अब अंदर क्या किनसे पूछे कैसे करे कुछ पता नहीं. So he was just waiting. Somehow the devotees saw him because white skin, American, the devotees saw him and they took him around and they showed him the place. And now he got very attracted. He got very inspired. So he decided 2017 was the first time he entered the temple. So his New Year resolution for 2018 was, I will come to this temple every day. Come what may, I will come to this temple every day. Now he lived 30 minutes away. 30 minutes away. So 30 minutes commute. And now in 30 minutes in America, it's very long. It's not like 30 minutes of India. 30 minutes in America is probably equivalent to about 50 minutes back in India because there is no traffic here in the US. So 30 minutes is a good amount of distance. So he decided every day I will come and I will take darshan of the Lord. So रोज आने लगे 30 minutes he started commuting. He didn't have a car, so he would do that on the bus. Every day back and forth, bus mein he would come. Then he thought to himself, just commuting for this is very difficult because he already had a job and apart from the job, he would commute 30 minutes just to take darshan of Shri Radha Neela Madhav. उत्कंठा देखिए, जिज्ञासा देखिए, जॉब है, जॉब करते करते नौजवान है, मानो 25 27 या 28 साल के होंगे, जॉब के साथ साथ रोज 30 मिनट आगे पीछे करते केवल राधा नीला माधव की दर्शन करने के लिए. Then he thought to himself, let me do one thing. He quit his job and he found a job close to the temple. So that if the job is close to temple, naturally for the job he will commute and उसके साथ ही साथ दर्शन भी हो जाएगा. Very smart. So he quit his job, got a job near the temple and started working. So naturally he would commute like this every day. His New Year resolution being every day I will take darshan of the Lord. We know our New Year resolution also. हम जब resolution लेते हैं पहला दिन करते दूसरा दिन करते तीसरा दिन करते by the time 1 week of January is done गौर प्रेमानंद है. He never do it after that, right? But he started doing it every single day from 2018. He started coming to the temple, and finally there came a point where devotees saw him constantly. And the leader of Seattle congregation was there, was a Prabhupada disciple, His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj. He spotted this devotee. And as he spotted this devotee, he went to talk to him because two Americans talking to each other or two white personalities talking to each other always has a profound effect. So he spoke to him. And as this newcomer, upcoming devotee spoke to Prabhupada disciple Harivilas Maharaj, he was very inspired that as to how, understanding his life as to how he came from Armenia and founded the Paris congregation and then came here to Seattle and started the temple here and has built a big, large congregation all practically by himself. So he was very inspired. And then the temple asked him that you're commuting back and forth like this. Uh, why don't you just stay in the temple? We will give you a place. Why don't you just stay in the temple? तो मंदिर में रह लीजिए, प्रसाद पा लीजिए, रोज दर्शन कीजिए और आपका जॉब तो यही है. Your job is close by only, so it will be perfect for you. So he thought to himself that, well, I think it's a good idea. Why not I just stay in the temple? Why not I just move into the temple? Now his parents were there in a place called as Bellevue, which is about 30 minutes from the temple. His stepdad and his biological mother were there. So he decided to leave them. He thought, anyway, I'm old enough now. I'm almost 35, 37. Why not I just leave that life and why not I just live in the temple with the devotees? Let me just experience this. I've given time for the Christianity and for Islam. Why not I just give time for this? So he started living in the temple. Dear devotees, it's been 6 years now. He's still living in the temple. He's an American. It's been 6 years straight. He's been living in the temple, chants 16 rounds every day, gets up in the morning for Mangal Arati without fail. He and also has a full-time job. He works for the Gates Foundation. Bill Gates, his former wife is Melinda Gates. So she has Gates Foundation. He works for that. Every single day he takes a bus and travels. And in the bus, he was telling me, in my bus, I chant. Now, eventually, 2018, he started living. 2020, he got inspired by the Prabhupada disciple, took initiation from that Prabhupada disciple. Now, in our Seattle congregation, he's called as Dhananjay Prabhu. He lives in the temple. 24 hours keeps serving in the temple, has a full-time job outside. This is his story. Now the most interesting part is he has a nice house in Bellevue where his parents live. He has given that up and he lives in the temple. And the room in his temple, if you see, it's a very small room. And that room is such, it has freezer, which means it has cold storage where you can keep milk and paneer and all those things. It has one side is filled with cold storage. Another side is filled with all boxes that keeps for our Sankirtan, we have burritos and all those things that we keep in those boxes. So one side is filled with boxes, another side is filled with freezer. In the ahead, there is table and chair for his office work, and there is only very small place to sleep. Only 8 by 4. 8 by 4. How small it is? Only that much. Zameen pe sote hain. He sleeps on the floor. He sleeps this way with his hand to his head. Sleeps on the floor. Has just one blanket. And when I saw that, I was inspired. I have seen him in the temple so many times, but I never knew the details of his life. And when I heard it, I almost was thinking, to what extent can devotees go to get Krishna? Coming from an American background, giving up family life, giving up nice aristocratic family where he can nicely sleep on beds, giving all that up, not getting married, staying in the temple, coming to temple every day, switching his job for Krishna, seeing Jagannath, attending Rath Yatra festival, finishing the 1972 Macmillan Bhagavad Gita of Prabhupada, and then getting initiated, chanting 16 rounds every day, attending every day Mangal Arati. He's there for Mangal Arati literally every single day because he starts the live stream for the temple and sleeping on the floor like this. Dear devotees, these are the people who are sacrificing so much to get Krishna. Not sleeping on beds, not having lavish lifestyle, just sleeping on a floor. That, my dear Lord, I am ready to go to any extreme to get you in my life. He's about 45 now, and it's not easy for a 45-year-old to live this lifestyle in a room that's already crammed with so many other things. He's happy. He's happy to be with the devotees. He said, I cannot go back to the old lifestyle now. I found my heart's calling. He's now initiated. He said, I cannot go back to the old lifestyle. He is born an American. He has seen luxury. He has seen aristocracy. And now he's sleeping in the temple this way in a cold floor, just so that he can be around devotees and he can be around Shri Shri Radha Neela Madhav and Jagannath. If this is not sincerity, what is sincerity? यदि हम यदि कोई पाश्चात्य देश से आकर भगवान के लिए इतना कुछ करे ताकि उनके जीवन में उनको भगवान मिले, तो हमें और कितना करना चाहिए? We coming from a culture which is very easy to connect, the Indian background, if we cannot get inspired by this, seeing as to how someone from a different lifestyle, different faith, different religion, a troubled family life, father leaving, not getting a job, switching jobs, being in depression, going to different other religions, eventually coming to the temple, having a New Year resolution of coming every day, attending Mangalarti every day, chanting rounds. If this is not sincerity, what is sincerity? Human life is meant for this, to give everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. The more we are ready to sacrifice our comfort, the more we are ready to push ourselves to get Krishna, the more Krishna reveals. And the more we will see there is sweetness of Krishna consciousness experienced in the heart of the devotee. जब तक घिसेंगे नहीं, तब तक भगवान नहीं मिलेंगे. So I just wanted to share this story as of how someone traveled his way and eventually came back to joining our ISKCON temple. And now he's a full-time devotee. Now, living in the temple, serving in the temple, working outside in the Gates Foundation. At the same time, whatever salary he has, literally 50% of that salary he gives to the temple. जितने भी जो भी कमाते हैं उसमें से मानो 50% मंदिर को दे देते हैं. So complete surrender, sacrifice. Um, yes, and to add to the donations, he does donations also, correct? That is right. Someone wrote to me in the chat. He does donations also. I don't know who the devotee is, but probably Seattle devotee. I can this. So he does donations also, and Sati Sat with the donations he gives part of his salary also. If this is not sincerity, if this is not commitment to the process, what is sincerity? So we take inspiration from such personalities who have gone the distance to get Krishna. जब तक घिसेंगे नहीं, जब तक थप्पड़ नहीं बेलेंगे, तब तक भगवान नहीं मिलेंगे. The Lord demands surrender. सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य माम एकम शरणम व्रज. So we take inspiration this way and try to follow in the footsteps of such personalities who are ready to give up their comfort to get Radha and Krishna and Jagannath in their life. Having said this, we very humbly want to stop here, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining. We will meet again tomorrow to continue on this theme of how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had written a verse for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu tore it. And after that, what are the instances that occurred? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's servant in Australia who didn't have a visa but still got entry into Australia ki jai. Dhananjay Prabhu. His life ki jai. Dai Gaura Premanande.